Well, hello there, fans of music and geography. This is Peter Scove, and you're watching Music as a Journey. I recently saw a video on Embryonic Robot's channel. He was introducing various songs that are about Toronto or mention Toronto in the lyrics. It was a new theme he was starting, and I was pleased to say that I could suggest a couple that he might actually have known or had in his collection. And a few days after that, Northern Revolutions decided to jump on the thread and also do a video mentioning albums that include reference to Toronto or places in Toronto, such as street names or neighborhoods. And in fact, one of the very first albums he talked about was an album I had just picked up recently by Blue Rodeo, and I happened to notice the Toronto reference in that album. As well, I just recently picked up a Northern Pikes album called Truest Inspirations, and the very first song on that album also makes a mention of Toronto. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt here. I keep saying Toronto. I know the proper pronunciation is Toronto, as Northern Revolutions will tell you. It's Toronto or Toronto, however you want to say it. I just had an online lesson, and when I'm teaching English online, I tend to speak very clearly, so that kind of stuck with me, and that's why I kept saying Toronto. Anyway, Toronto, on with the show. Now, I didn't actually think about this as a thread, just I thought I would help others out by throwing out ideas that maybe they had or had not considered. But I decided then, okay, since this is turning into a thread, I'm going to jump on it, but I am not going to mention songs about Toronto because I've already given away all my ideas or they've already been done. I was considering possibly Tokyo because, I live in Japan. I don't live in Tokyo. I live probably about an hour away by train. So I thought about I could mention songs like YNT's Midnight in Tokyo or Riot's Tokyo Rose. There were even some Japanese bands like Ningen Isu have a song Tokyo Bondage, and Makiyano, one of my favorite singers, has a song called Tokyo Tower. And Arrogant Worms have Tokyo Love Song, which is a very humorous song, as all of the Arrogant Worms songs are, about a happy couple, and the poor woman in the couple gets squished flat when she's trodden upon by Godzilla. Tough life sometimes. Okay, so no, I decided then to look back to where I come from, and I don't actually come from Vancouver, but I come from Surrey, which is a suburb. Actually, it's becoming a city in its own right, over 400,000 people now. But anyway, when I grew up, it was a suburb of Vancouver. So anyway, I don't think anybody has written any songs about Surrey. That's not true. We did have a local band called No Fun who had a song called Let's Go to Surrey Today. But anyway, I'm going to focus on Vancouver or the cities around Vancouver. Now, I did a video similar to this a month or so back where I mentioned bands that come from different cities, including Vancouver and the surrounding ones. But this time, we're taking a look at some of the songs. So first one I'm going to talk about, this is from Blue Rodeo's fifth album, 5 Days in July. This is Blue Rodeo's probably their best known or best selling album. And there is a track on here, track number 7, called English Bay. English Bay, if you know your Vancouver geography, well, here's a map. English Bay is the body of water just off to the west of Vancouver there. So I'll just read to you the first verse in the lyrics to the song. You are so far away on this cold, empty night, as I lie in a hotel room looking out at the street light. Outside my window I listen to the rain and the sounds of the passing cars and the waves on English Bay. Okay, next we are going to take a look at North Vancouver's own Spirit of the West. This, their second album and their first album on a big label. Who was it now? Stony Plain. Stony Plain nonetheless. When they were a three-piece band produced by Paul Hyde. Oh, I never noticed that before. Paul Hyde of Rockin' Hyde and the Payolas and yeah. Anyway, so 2 of the members here in the starting lineup were with the band all the way through to the very end. One of them, John Mann, passed away 2 or 3 years ago now. It might even be longer. Time just blurs. But on their debut album here, they have a song called The Crawl, sung by Jeff Kelly. Again, 2 lead vocalists. What am I telling you about Canadian bands and their 2 lead vocalists? 2 or 3 or even 4. And aside from the verse, the chorus, every verse mentions, pretty much every verse mentions something about a place somewhere between West and North Vancouver. So let's see here. The chorus goes, "We're good old boys, we come from the North Shore." North Shore being the North Shore across Burrard Inlet from Vancouver, so North Vancouver. And let's see here. From the Troller, picture, to the Raven, picture. These are some of the pubs along the route there. So it all began one afternoon on the shores of Ambleside. Well, we have Ambleside Park in North Vancouver. As you can imagine, this is a very local song. So without reading every single verse, let me see here. They got out to Horseshoe Bay. They're doing a pub crawl. Horseshoe Bay, that's where you can take the ferry from there. Park Royal Hotel, the Rusty Gull. I've walked past the Rusty Gull. I'm not much of a pub guy, so I never went in. Square Rigger and Queen's Cross. So they got 4 more pubs there. And it was just the 3 of us that made it to Deep Cove. Deep Cove on the map. All right. We arrived at the Raven just in time for the last call. And so on and so forth. Very good, rousing drinking song. Okay, so that's Spirit of the West. Spirit of the West. The Crawl. Now we're going to get into some angry music here. This is Strapping Young Lad's second album, City. I think this is from 98. Oh, this is a reissue, so it says 2007. Well, whatever. Whatever. I think it's from 98 or 1998 or thereabouts. Devin Townsend's band, his second album, City. This album really put him on the map. This is one heck of an angry album. I think most of the song lyrics are written just venting anger. But he says here, what does he say? It's 2:45 a.m. and I'm freaking out. All I can think of is glory, and I'm sitting in Burnaby at 2:45 in the fucking morning, freaking the fuck out. So he says. Burnaby. Burnaby is a city neighboring Vancouver. It is also where Michael J. Fox was from, if I remember correctly. So Burnaby. From Strapping Young Lad. Next up, Matthew Good Band with Beautiful Midnight. Their 3rd full-length album. 3rd of 4 before Matthew Good quit his band and went off to be a solo artist. Excellent album. Lots of good songs on here. And track number 4 is called I Miss New Wave. Now it mentions different things. It says I'm going to go off to Hawaii and going to drive to LA and get laid at the Rose Bowl. Really? Drown in a hot tub, fill it with models. Wow. Anyway, the last verse is going to die in Coquitlam. Get laid by a golf course that I never went to. Well, it's not a real spot, and I'll miss New Wave and watching you walk away. So go on, it's okay. Gonna die in Coquitlam. Matthew Good is from Coquitlam. And there it is on the map. Coquitlam. One of the many cities in the greater Vancouver area. So, kind of cool to hear that mentioned in a lyric. I don't know how many other people sang about Coquitlam. Matthew Good actually had an album, has an album, it's still here, called Vancouver. This, I don't remember when this goes back to. This is one of the last ones of his I bought before I stopped buying his albums until I went back to revisit him 4 or 5 albums later. There is a song on here called the Vancouver National Anthem. However, it doesn't actually mention Vancouver in the lyrics. It just talks about the tough, hard life of living downtown where you sleep on the street and step over each other, and something about no parking. Yeah. So since it's probably talking about life in Vancouver without actually mentioning Vancouver. Okay, I'm going to mention this one here. This is a band called Dionysus from Quebec. They were a Quebec heavy psychedelic and progressive band in the early and mid-70s. They struggled on through the 70s, and this collection here names songs from their different releases. However, I gotta say, I thought this was a compilation album of their different songs from their different albums. Turns out all of these were re-recorded in 1994. So this is a modern version of Dionysus's song selection. I do have their first two albums on CD. And this is a song called Vancouver. I'll play it a little bit here. So I couldn't actually find the lyrics anywhere on the internet. I guess no one has ever bothered to put them up. They are in English, even though a lot of their older stuff is in French. And I listened to the lyrics briefly just to see if I could catch anything. It just seems to be talking about the days where they were having good times, young and being wild and free. So that is, yeah, nothing but a good feeling in good old Vancouver. So that's Dionysus with a song called Vancouver, and I presume the lyrics are about the life that they enjoyed while they were in Vancouver. So it seems I've run out of CDs, but I have not run out of songs to talk about. So I'd like to mention a Japanese artist called Superfly. I don't have any of her albums, but my wife does have her first album, the debut. Looks like this. And she does have a song on there called Vancouver. And looking at the mention of the song and the lyrics, so good, so bad, Vancouver City, Saigo no Chudanchi, which means the final interruption or final stopover, I guess. Kono yume ga waretara chigau michi ni iku. If this dream is broken, I'm going to go a different way. And she does mention Vancouver again later on there. Vancouver City. Oh, is that Yofu or Yorokaze no Chudanchi? So where the night wind is broken or where the night wind is interrupted. Hajimari ka owari ka. Is it the beginning? Is it the end? So anyway, that's Superfly. She's actually an excellent vocalist. And she had a song called Everybody High Five, I think it was. When I first heard that, I didn't know who it was. Couldn't guess. Anyway, fantastic singer. Debut album has a song about Vancouver. All right. I want to talk about this one. I have the album on CD. It's tucked away in a box and I didn't feel like moving tons of stuff to get it out. But Vancouver Shakedown by Nazareth from their 7th album in 1976, Close Enough for Rock and Roll. I heard way back when that it was about getting busted for drugs, but I found here an article online from the Georgia Straight, which is a Vancouver entertainment magazine, and I'm going to read what it says here. Nazareth's new album on A&M Records, and this is actually going back to 1984, The Catch, is the first one in 8 years that they've recorded in their Scottish homeland. Last year's Sound Elixir, 1983, was recorded in Vancouver at Little Mountain Sound, and much of their double live LP, Snaz, was recorded at the Pacific Coliseum, which is where I saw Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Boston, Bon Jovi, and pretty much any band I saw in the 80s was at Pacific Coliseum, except Pink Floyd. They were at BC Place Stadium. The band members have also become good friends with such local rockers as Matt Frenette, I don't know, and Paul Dean, I do know, of Loverboy, who were members of Streetheart when Naz guitarist Manny Charlton produced that band's very first album. I did not know Manny Charlton produced Streetheart's first album. But Nazareth's affinity to Vancouver hasn't been without its debilitating moments. On their 7th album, Close Enough for Rock and Roll, they recorded a song called Vancouver Shakedown that expressed their feelings about a local promoter they were less than happy with. We got ripped off twice in Vancouver by the same guy, claims McCafferty in his Scottish accent, which I am not going to attempt to do because Nick over in Wales is going to make some comment. Hi, Nick. Unfortunately, Vancouver Shakedown drew a lot of complaints from local listeners when it hit the airwaves. It seems that the real message of the song was overlooked and viewed as an attack on the city itself. The tune was blacklisted in Vancouver. Everybody over here took it as though we were actually slagging Vancouver to death, says McCafferty. And we go, no, no, we're not slagging Vancouver. We're slagging this guy who lives here. So actually, I did not know that about the song. But yes, Vancouver, shake down. Yeah, we was done over. We got laid over. Somebody tell us just what's going down. Don't need no another Vancouver shakedown. Yeah, so one more song to mention. This is a song by a fella named Stan Rogers. It's called Northwest Passage, and it is about some of the explorers who explored the great landscape of Canada way back when. I know about this song because Unleash the Archers covered it 2 or 3 years ago, and I've got the download anyway. It's only available as a download, but well, there might be a 7-inch, I'm not sure, but it's a great song. The video is really cool too, because singer Brittany Slays, there seem to be other Brittany Slays appearing from different dimensions or different in the multi-universe, and in the end one Brittany kills the other Brittany. It's not funny, but it's funny because I know they're just goofing around. But it's a very fun video, and with some nice scenery and some humorous moments. But the lyric, or the verse that suits something about Vancouver is, "And through the night behind the wheel, the mileage clicking west, I think upon Mackenzie, David Thompson, and the rest, who cracked the mountain ramparts and did show a path for me to race the roaring Fraser to the sea." Of course, Fraser is referring to the Fraser River, named after Simon Fraser. That is the river that I looked out upon from my living room window for many years of my life. Close to 28 years, except for when I didn't live at home with my parents. Okay, so that's, boom. That's it. That's a selection of songs that mention Vancouver or places around the greater Vancouver area. And that's my contribution to Embryonic Robot's thread about songs that are about Toronto. Okay. Thanks for watching, folks. See you in another video.